Hello. As always, I'm your host, Skyler Nations. Welcome to Next Level News. Today's show, we will cover the February Nintendo Direct, a difficulty tweak, and Elden Ring. Coming up on Next Level News. Should games be accessible for anyone to beat? No, I'm not talking about colorblind support, removing QuickTime events, or even functionality with controllers made for amputees or those with severe physical disabilities. No, I'm talking about games being too hard. With Elden Ring coming out, the age-old tale of people complaining for games to have easy modes is popping up again. The conversation sparked up on Twitter, with fans of the new kung fu action game Sifu being upset at gaming journalists tanking the review scores of the game, simply because it was too hard for them. The game got a 4 out of 10 from Gfinity and a 5 out of 10 from Checkpoint Gaming, all because the reviewers found the game's difficulty to be way too hard. This really pissed a lot of people off. Cries of games journalists not knowing what the hell they are talking about because they aren't good at games. The situation brings up painful memories like the IGN gameplay of Doom 2016, where the person playing seemed drunk with their gaming abilities. Or the Cuphead situation, where renowned and respected Japanese games journalist Dean Takahashi had trouble beating Cuphead's tutorial level. Journalists ask the question of if games should have easy modes, while fans of those games ask if journalists should be required to have a certain level of skill before they are allowed to professionally review and critique a game. I think both questions could be answered by this. Question: is a game's difficulty directly linked to it as a commercial product to sell to as many people as possible, or is difficulty linked to the artistic creation and authorial intent of the game's developers? I think it's the latter. When a game is built around a very specific difficulty curve, then that becomes the intended way for the game to be experienced. It is up to the author to decide if they think the experience would be good with a lowered or raised curve. It's like telling a chef how to cook a steak. You don't go in and say, hey, you should cook it at this temp and use these ingredients. If you did, you'd have them calling you a donkey in no time. Now, yes, if you could inform the chef of what needs you need met for your diet, but if you're a vegan, shouldn't you not be ordering steak? It's not meant for you. Same with gaming. If you don't like first-person shooters, you don't buy the latest Call of Duty and then complain that it's a shooter. Why should you be able to do the same for games that are created to be difficult if you suck at games? Moving back to professional games journalists. If a journalist doesn't like a genre, they should probably not be the one to review that genre, period. They won't be able to properly tell if that game offers up something valuable to those that enjoy the genre. Again, it's like saying, I hate shooters. Anyway, here's my review on Call of Duty 2023. 5 out of 10, I hate it. Same thing for difficult games. If you're a games journalist, but you're not that good and are given an incredibly hard game, then you probably shouldn't be the one giving the game its review. That's often dictating game developers being given pay bonuses by their publishers. I mean, imagine losing out on getting a pay bonus that makes up a significant chunk of your income simply because somebody can't beat your game's tutorial. Meanwhile, most of your game's audience has no issues.
This latest Nintendo Direct, depending on who you ask, did not disappoint. We got a great look ahead at some upcoming releases, as well as some fun surprises that are sure to fill up your Switch's library. To start things off, we get a look at the brand new Fire Emblem Warriors. Are the Warriors games really doing that well? I suppose well enough to give Fire Emblem another one, at least. This time, we'll get a look at another story set in the world of Fire Emblem Three Houses. Shortly after whatever that was, we got the reveal of a brand new Mario Strikers game, a series we haven't heard from since 2007. This take on soccer in the Mushroom Kingdom is famous for its surprisingly intense action-packed gameplay, straying away from cartoonish violence in favor of actual violence. It's an exciting return from what was once considered a forgotten Mario series. Splatoon 3 is seeing the return of Salmon Run co-op mode, along with some interesting new bosses for you and your fellow Squid Kids to face off with, and ultimately get overwhelmed by. If you were on the internet after the Direct, you probably saw a specific image floating around. Kirby Car is the hot new meme of the week. As part of his newest game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Kirby will be able to gain new abilities by filling his mouth with various things, including, but not limited to, a car, allowing him to drive across a 3D space. I'm personally holding out for the sequel, Kirby Attack Helicopter. The best-selling Wii game is getting a follow-up on Switch. Nintendo Switch Sports brings all your favorite Wii sports to the new console, along with some new ones, though the Miis have to stay behind, I guess. As this game uses new avatars, I can only assume are called Swees. So there you go, Chambara fans. Some already released Nintendo games are getting updates as well. Metroid Dread has 2 new difficulty modes, Dread Mode and Rookie Mode. Rookie Mode will give Samus health and ammo, while Dread Mode will kill her if she even dares look at anything the wrong way. The game will also get a free Boss Rush mode in April. Mario Kart 8 is getting a DLC pass. Throughout the years, remakes of classic Mario Kart courses will be released as paid DLC. And yes, this will include Coconut Mall. You can get all the tracks for $25 or get them for free by spending twice as much on the Nintendo Expansion Pack service. And what would a Direct be without some ports and remasters? Star Wars, Force Unleashed, Assassin's Creed, the SEO Collection, and Portal, the Companion Collection are all coming to the system, allowing you to play all your favorite Xbox 360 games once again. The tactical RPG Front Mission is getting remakes for its first 2 games on Switch, and a remaster of Chrono Cross will also head to the system, which will include the Japanese exclusive visual novel Radical Dreamers, a prequel story to Chrono Cross that was only released on the Super Nintendo's failed Satellaview add-on. Speaking of things being released in English for the first time, the cult classic RPG Live Alive is finally headed to the West after 30 years. The classic Square game will be remade in the style of their newer series Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy. Is that not enough RPGs for you? Well, fuzzy pickles. Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings will finally be headed to the Nintendo Switch Online service. Still no word on Mother 3, though. But, most importantly, the hit mascot platformer Klonoa is headed for the Switch. The first 2 games in Namco's forgotten mascot platformer will head to the system on July 8th. And finally, to finish things off, Nintendo announced the latest in the Xenoblade series, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This game will take place in the same universe as the previous 2 entries, now set in the future. The game will launch this year in September. Elden Ring, what is most likely the most anticipated game of the month, if not the whole year, is released. After its initial reveal at E3 in 2019, From Software largely went silent. It wasn't until 2021 when we finally got to see any actual gameplay. Despite this, hype around the game remained. For a long time, it seemed this game was managing to stay relevant because of FromSoft's reputation alone, with very little actually known about the game. If you are unaware, FromSoft is known for making their games unforgivingly difficult, most popular for their Dark Souls series. And this newest game promises to bring that brutal difficulty to an open world, as you follow a story written by George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones. The iconic Souls-like gameplay appears largely unchanged, with all its dodging, backstabbing, and huge bosses. What is new this time around is mounted combat, something we haven't seen in a Souls game before, though it does make sense considering you have a much larger world to explore this time around. The open world appears to be the biggest selling point, with developers stating much of the game is designed around exploration of 6 main areas. Though the areas are designed to be tackled in a specific order, you are able to ignore that and take things at your own pace, even if that means making a beeline for some of the tougher areas. Each of the areas will have their own bosses and will be connected by the lands between, which will also have their own bosses to challenge. All in all, the hype around this game only seems to build every time we hear more about it, and while much is still shrouded in mystery, isn't stopping fans from getting excited. Now, we'll give you an in-depth look at Elden Ring.
We unfortunately have to end the show on a slightly sour and somber note. With the invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces shaking the world, many people have become displaced as their country is being taken from them by lethal force. Many people have already lost their lives. Ukraine developer of the widely anticipated Stalker 2, GCS Game World, put out this statement. As of today, the Russian Federation has officially declared war on Ukraine. Our country woke up with the sounds of explosions and weapons fire, but is ready to defend its freedom and independence. For it remains strong and ready for anything. The future is unknown, but we hope for the best, are ever sure our armed forces and belief in Ukraine. We thus address all of our colleagues in the gaming industry, players, bloggers, or anyone who sees this post in their newsfeed. Share this. Do not stand aside and help those in need. Through pain, death, war, fear, and inhuman cruelty, Ukraine will persevere, as it always does. And that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank everyone for watching. Keep a lookout for our next episode. As always, I'm your host, Skyler Nations, and this has been your Next Level News.